I am Bovine Gamer, and this is my series called Opening Pandora's Box. And in this series, I will be doing 20 to 30 minute reviews of games from the Pandora's Box. I will walk through some of the gameplay, some of the history, and give scores for each of the games based upon my view of the nostalgia, the actual gameplay, and how the emulator worked with it. Please note that I am using a genuine Pandora's Box 5 that came from 3A Gaming directly in China, and whilst it may seem ridiculous to say that the Pandora's Box can be copied and its copies aren't as good as the original based upon the fact that the Pandora's Box is just copying Neo Geo and arcade games, the actual difference between the hardware between this and many of the copy systems is significant enough to make a difference to this review. If you want to know more about the clones of the Pandora's Box and the issues that they suffer, please see one of the other videos I've got regarding the actual box itself and how it differs from some of these clones. That being said, I say this because I can only give a review based upon the actual hardware I am using. Other hardware may be better or worse, but just note that I am using the Pandora's Box 5 made by 3A Gaming. So, without further ado, let's move on to review Golden Axe on the Pandora's Box 5. Golden Axe was released in 1989 by Sega. It is a side-scrolling beat-em-up with a twist. You can choose from 3 characters who all have different strengths, where some characters have higher strength, quicker speed, or more powerful magic. The premise of the game is to make your way to the end boss, known as Death Adder, by beating all his minions on the way. The game can be played as a 1-player or as a 2-player game. So, inside the title screen of the Pandora's Box, we select game 131 Golden Axe. Pandora's Box will then go through its little ditty, say get ready, and the game will start with its title loading screen. So now we get to see the 3 characters. First up is Axe Battler, who is the atypical Conan the Barbarian guy. He has strong hits, but he's quite slow and has medium magic. And each character is given some motivation for trying to fight Death Adder. Next up is Tyrus Flare. Tyrus Flare is the female character who is an Amazon, and she has fast attacks that are not as strong as Axe Battlers, but she does have the best magic in the game. As it happens in this video, I don't show Gillis's little video intro, but instead we move on to the character select screen. So I'm going to select Tyrus, and as you'll see, she gets little flames, and it cuts to a cutscene where we see one of the soldiers come and be attacked. And eventually he falls over and dies, like so. And we're into the game. And the game is pretty much a game of slashing and bashing with a bit of magic mixed in, as you can see here. And Tyrus gets a flamethrower type effect across the whole screen. Each character has slightly different attack moves that they can use, and definitely different magic they can use. Golden Axe only had one sequel, and it was called Golden Axe Revenge of the Death Adder. And actually, it was a better game than Golden Axe, funnily enough. It didn't come out for any of the home consoles. It was never ported out, but it was one of the greatest, possibly, arcade machines of its time. It came out a couple of years after this, 2 or 3 years after this. If you see it anywhere in an arcade, please put everything down and have a quick play on it, satisfy your curiosity, and let me know if you do know of one. Here we can see every so often towards the end of levels we get little elves, and the blue elves who kick and punch or smash them with your sword will give you little potion bottles. These potion bottles fill up your energy bar at the top of the screen for your magic. The more potion bottles, the stronger the magic becomes. Okay, so here we reach one part of the game which is a defining element of this game at the time. It was really unusual, which is the ability for you to ride other animals that you find in the game. Back in 1989, this is a massive feature and actually was truly amazing for most people. The little pink beaky guy here is called a cockatrice and actually appeared initially in Altered Beast, which we will get to later on. Each animal is known as a Bizarrian, and they all have their own form of attack. In this case, it has a swishy tail that knocks people over. And as you can see here, we have our first mini bosses, who are a pair of, well, let's say, big giants wearing SNM gear. I'm not sure I want to say any more than that. And then in most stages you have this falling asleep scene where you wake up and then you can hit the dwarfs again and they will release magic spells. And this is a great time to stock up for the battle ahead. One of the things that makes Golden Axe really interesting is that between each stage you are shown your journey on the way. And in the next stage we get to jump on the back of a turtle and go for the Turtle Village. This game was actually produced by Makoto Yoshida, who actually was the original producer of Altered Beast, hence the pass-through from the cockatrice that you see, the pink little beaky monster that you ride, that came from Altered Beast in the first place. Oops. Well, what you'll occasionally find is that there are points in the map where you can just simply fall off. I mean, where are the soundposts? Where are the handrails? Health and safety has gone mad. And here I cast a level 2 fire spell. These effects were actually pretty amazing at the time. The fact that you could choose between different types of fire spells and cast them was something that really hadn't been done in many other games. And now we get to see a new type of Bizarrian, a flame-shooting dragon, which I will try to climb on. Oh, well, that's one of the things we noticed in Golden Axe, is it's easy to be knocked off, and eventually, if you get knocked off often enough, the dragon will run away. One interesting thing to notice at the bottom of the screen is the parallax water that's actually flowing past to show that you're actually swimming on the back of the turtle. Golden Axe was pretty much ported to every game system that there was at the time. And the quality of those ranged such a great deal. I mean, the Mega Drive version of this was an amazing port at the time. I remember playing that at high. We used to be able to rent them near me. All the way down to the actual PC Engine in Japan, which was an awful port. I've only seen it afterwards, but when you see it, it's a terrible port. Doesn't play well. Really doesn't perform on that system for some reason. And yeah, it got such a slating for it. And here, these are my favourite enemies. I think these I just love these skeletons. They're so reminiscent of Jason and the Argonauts, which was one of my favourite films as a kid. They move just the same way and look exactly the same. I really don't think that can be a coincidence. I am guessing that the guys who made this had watched the same films or had seen the same type of movies. And again, we reach into the level. And actually, what you can see this time is we don't just get the blue guys, we get a green guy. The blue guys always give magic, and the green guys actually give health. As it happens in this case, they don't really need health, but it's always worth knocking them while you've got the chance, just in case you have missed it. As you can see, it's the end of the level, and we were driving on the back of a giant turtle, and now we must go through another village or another townland. And at the start of this level, we get a Bazaarian that's a pink dragon, and this is probably the most OP weapon in the game. It's fast, it fires long-range bolts, and it's a one-hit killing machine. Needless to say, once you see this, your best bet is to try and keep it as long as you possibly can. Then later on, the final arcade machine that I remember them bringing out was a game called Golden Axe, and it was just a fighter, a one-on-one fighter, something that seemed to be most prevalent after Street Fighter. And while it's an okay game, actually, it's nothing special. There's not anything that makes it stand out from the billion other fighters that have 1v1 types that we got at that point in time. So it's an interesting byproduct, but it was never something that was all that interesting to play. And finally, we actually get to the head of the turtle. Yep, no laughing there at the back, please. I know the jokes. I've told them myself. In fact, I reckon I told the same joke when I was 15 in the arcade. So again, we get the Bondage Boys. And, well, my BC tends to make short work of them. And now we have the big black tower knights, who are actually one of the toughest bad guys in the game, especially when you lose a dragon. Once you've lost a dragon, these guys become even more difficult to beat. This is partly down just to the range that they have. They swing that large sword and they actually can knock you out of the air and all sorts of things, so they have some neat anti-air device. And so now we get to the penultimate stage. We are told that we're going to take the Fiend's path. Well, spoiler alert here, people. It's actually the back of a golden eagle, or a very large golden eagle at that. As you can see, we just walked onto the back of a giant eagle. One of the most impressive things about this game called Rise was the actual believable and detailed and interesting and really different background that gave it kind of a real fantasy setting that made this game actually better than a lot of the sequels that it got. A lot of the sequels didn't have this same level of detail and understanding that was important to the game. In fact, in a minute you'll get to see that there's feathers that fly past you, clearly intended to be falling off the bird as it starts flying. Just love the slight weirdness and oddity that this game breeds at times. And having said that, now this play is just plain odd, in my opinion. You are clearly flying into the sky, and you've got a sky that's turned pink, and then suddenly you have pink cotton candy balls flying past. Now, I'm assuming that they're intended to be clouds in the sky, but that's not what they look like at all. However, no taking away from the fact that this is a really technical piece of programming to make this work in the first place. So, having taken a bit of a beating by these little mini bosses, I decided I'm going to bring out the big guns, and I have a full magic there, and hence I can cast a big spell, and it brings in a dragon that lays waste to everything in front of it. Unfortunately, I've noticed that this actually has a little bit of a graphical glitch in that it doesn't show the full fire effect, but nonetheless, this was really impressive, and it's really one of those things that stands out from me in my memory of playing the game. And as we make our way off the bird finally, we actually get to see the host with its large eye. And this was one of the things that I always loved about the game. These little touches with the moving eye and all those kind of things were just really impressive at the time. One of the things that I remember distinctly back in 1989, at that period, was how big Sega were. I mean, they just released Afterburner at this point, and everyone was waiting for the new Sega games to come along. And this came out on the new Sega System 16 arcade, so it was really kind of different to see all the various types of scrolling, parallax scrolling, different effects, etc. This was a big time for Sega. Originally, Makoto Uchida came up with the concept for this game. He based it upon Conan the Barbarian, but he was hoping to produce an RPG for the Master System. However, Sega felt that they were not going to make enough money from that and asked him to refactor this into a beat 'em up. which Makoto did, and a year later produced this game. So it was a huge turnaround for this game and the style that he was looking for. One of the things that often gets missed by people looking at this game is that it's a really not obvious nowadays, but in them days you never saw bad guys that you killed stay on the screen. Here you can see that they're still on the screen once they're killed, and that was really unusual back in the day. You just didn't see it; they just kind of flashed and disappeared more often than not. But Golden Axe introduced this idea you could leave them on the screen. On home consoles, there was a Golden Axe 3, and there was actually a Golden Axe 2 as well, both of which were poor relations to the arcade sequels. I wouldn't bother digging them out if you don't have to. Golden Axe 3 in particular is awful, so try and avoid those games as much as possible. They don't appear on the Pandora's box, you don't have to avoid them specifically. Originally, the game was actually going to be a 3-player game, but the Sega arcade engine could actually hold 6 characters on screen at once, and it was felt that it was better to have 4 enemies against 2 good guys and have 3 enemies against 3 good guys. So it was restricted down to the 2 players. One of the things that Makoto had mentioned about this game was that every player and every character should have a weapon, including the bad guys. This was fairly unusual at the time. Things like Double Dragon had had the ability to pick up weapons, but no one had implemented weapons for every character in the game. This game was actually originally going to be called Battle Axe, and the characters you see at the beginning of the screen actually say Battle Axe, or some rough translation thereof. So yeah, it was going to be called Battle Axe, and then was changed to Golden Axe later by the Americans. I don't know what to say about this, but other than now we have a large camp-looking knight with a big pink sword. Let's not call it a big pink pork sword, eh? Just let's not call it that. No, definitely not. And so we now reach Death Adder's lair, and Death Adder has decided to throw his big pink leather-clad, I don't know, sword-wielding minions at his enemy here. Plus, not being content with that, he decides to wander into battle as a resurrected set of worms. Yeah, I don't really understand where that comes from, but okay. So Death Adder enters the battle as a sort of sadistic, boot-wearing, pink leather-clad, I don't know where this is going. I really don't. So note that he's actually carrying his the titular axe. So there's that. Ha! Take that, you beast! Oh, well, that's nice and axe to the body. I do hope that blood comes out of the tapestries later. And now let's cut down the rails, and that's the end of the game. We get shown the rails picking up, and we go to the end scene graphic with the map and the finishing saying congratulations. After which we get this rather random end credit scene, I guess, where all the bad guys jump out of the screen, followed by the heroes, and they chase each other around, and that's it. So that's the end of the game with everything done. My final score was 214, and I had 40 deaths, which probably back in 1989 would have cost me somewhere in the region of £5 to £10. And I got a grade D for my playthrough. So, not exactly impressive, but that's the total end of the game. Thank you for watching this part of the video. And so on to the final scores. So in terms of the first score is around nostalgia, and this is about how I feel about the game and how it makes me nostalgic about the past, I suppose, the best way to put that. And it has to be said, this is one of those games that floods memories back for me, various things about doing things at the time, and about playing this game in general. So, it's hard for me to say that this doesn't bring back lots of great nostalgic memories for me. So, having thought about it quite a bit, I have to give this score a 88% in terms of bringing back memories and playability from that perspective. The next score goes down to emulation of the game. And actually, this is a pretty good emulator for the game. The graphics are pretty much bang on. The music's pretty much bang on for what it should be. The odd glitch here and there, as we saw with the fire-breathing dragon, but in general, it's a very good emulation of this piece of hardware. So I'm going to give that 80%. So that finally we move on to the actual gameplay. And I'm going to give 4 scores for the actual gameplay itself. The first is for graphics. And actually, this is one of the bits of the game that you can't not love. The graphics are really thematic, they're really clean cut. The different backgrounds show the kind of journey along the way. So on the basis of that, I'm going to give it 80% for its graphics score. Now we move on to the score for music. And actually, I wasn't impressed by the music. It's nice enough, but it doesn't capture me, doesn't give me the theme maybe that I remember it doing at the time. Or maybe that's because of the way it gets played now, but I think it's only really gets a 70%. It's great, but it's not spectacular. The third score is actually for gameplay and fun and those kind of things in it. And it actually hasn't really aged very well, hasn't GoldenEye when you play it now. I mean, it's a decent enough game, but there's a limited number of types of enemies. There's a limited number of enemies on the screen at once. You can only have 4 enemies on the screen, which was a limitation of the hardware. You don't get really any kind of differentiation between the enemies. They kind of just run at you and hit you. So it's not really something you have to work out how best to play it or any of those things. It is really a bit of a hack and slash all the way through it. So really, on the basis of that, I'm going to have to give it one of my lesser scores, I suppose, which is I'm going to give it 67%. just because I can. But that's where I feel it is. It's, you know, it's really very middling in its gameplay from top to bottom, as much as I like it from a nostalgia point of view. And then that gives us to the very last score for gameplay, which is about its replayability or its addictiveness. And actually, you know, it's one of those games that I don't think I'll play very often. I might play it again with my daughters just so they can see it. And it's a nice, you know, it's really simple hack and slash, but there are so many other games that do this better now, and, you know, so much variation that really doesn't stand up to the test of time, doesn't Golden Axe. But I'm sure you know, people who play it once will love it, but it really doesn't have that kind of replay value that some of the other games would have. So on the basis of that, I'm going to give it a replay value of 52%. And so to recap the scores now for the Golden Axe, that nostalgia of 88%, emulation of 80%, and gameplay of 66%, which is averaged over those 4 scores. So, you know, it's one of those games that I think if you've got the Pandora's box, you should give a go. But I don't think you're going to be coming back to more than once or twice. It's just not got that long-lasting appeal like some of the other games have on there.